Daniel G. Garson. This is another episode of Putting Together Conversations. Thank you for joining us. This is a special Friday edition episode, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, Putting Together Conversations is a show about folks, about you, where you come from, where you are now, and what the journey has been like. The idea is to motivate and inspire other people to go after their dreams and their goals. And today we're showing on 4 separate Facebook pages, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And for all of our YouTube friends, I hope that you do us a favor, scroll down, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. It'll let you know every time there's a new show on the YouTube page. Remember, we got shows across the week, all through the week. We've got Christian and Daniel on Wednesdays, the Card Devo on Fridays, Particular Conversations on Saturdays. Plus, coming back soon will be our TikTok series on spiritual coaching. So we're revamping the page. We're going from just readings to more of a spiritual coaching type of show. So I hope you'll join us there and be part of the shows. Today, we want to encourage you to be part of this show. Make sure that you ask your questions, make comments about my guest. And let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Her name is Marsha Nelson, and she's the Executive Director of Project Insight and the co-founder and training supervisor of the Creative Journal Expressive Arts Institute Certification Training Program. Say that 3 times fast. She co-created in 1997 a certification training program to teach her creative journal method. She's a creative journaling that promotes the use of both the dominant and non-dominant hand to draw and journal. She also created a program for veteran women, a presenter at the Hispanic International HIV and HEP-C conference offered in South Padre Island, Texas. Without much more, let me bring you Ms. Marsha Nelson. Hello, how you doing?
I'm well. Happy Friday, right?
Happy Friday to you.
Yeah.
Put your name out there. Usually I start off by telling people how we met, and I'm going to send a big shout out to our friend Micah, who is actually the reason that we got together.
Yeah.
For those of you that have followed the show, Micah was a guest on the show before, and I've been a guest on his show. And if you're not following him, Micah on the mic.
Micah on Mike.
And Micah on Mike, make sure you follow him. He's on Instagram, and he's got his own Facebook page, so go check him out. He does a lot of great work. On a serious note, he does a lot of great work for the HIV community, so make sure that you can follow him and check him out. He's a fellow advocate, and I love the guy. Plus, the other connection that all 3 of us have is we both, all 3 of us lived in the Valley. Well, Micah's from the Valley, but we all lived in the Valley.
Yeah. We're all worked or played or born or lived in Edinburgh, Texas.
Hello, Edinburgh, Texas. All that raza in Edinburgh. Now, there is some little trivia for when I become really famous. This is something that you might want to know, folks. Marsha Nelson and I, at one point, were actually rivals.
Right.
And because of my loyalty to my boss then, I did not like Marsha. I never met the woman, but I was like, I don't like her either. Because we both worked in the travel agency business. And little did I know then, we were right across the street from each other, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, we were on Klausner. And it used to be, I was across from Peter Piper Pizza. Remember that?
Oh my God, yes.
Peter Piper Pizza. Yeah, right.
And
those are good years.
The reason I remember it most is because there used to be a little Mexican restaurant down the street from where I worked.
Yep.
And I would go there for their tacos at lunch. And you were not too far.
No, I was right there, right.
Yeah, so Marsha Nelson and I worked, she had her own travel agency and I worked for a travel agent. And I was an accountant, but we were across the street from each other. So, but my boss, rest in peace, he's not around anymore. We had this rule, like, we don't like them.
Right. We don't know why, but we just don't like them.
They're the competition, so we must. So just for sake of that, this whole conversation is going to be in just grumpy. Not just kidding.
You know that my travel agency is still in business. It's at the Echo Hotel.
Really?
The Echo Hotel. If you go into the Echo Hotel, you will see it was M&M Travel. My late husband was Michael. I'm Marsha. And M&M, it was the number was 584-7432 and 383-7432. 3 travelers ate 3 bags of M&M on their trip, and the last 4 digits spelled TRIP. 383. 3 travelers ate 3 bags of M&Ms on their trip. So people would call me and say, I don't know of any other travel agent number but yours, because I can figure it out. 383 trip.
So that was your trip, Marsha Nelson.
That was it. That was my, yep. And whenever I would give out the tickets, I'd have a little personal bag of M&Ms stapled to their tickets. And then when I would go to the airport, I would always give the agents M&Ms. So they all knew me really well. Here's the M&M girl.
And to be honest, folks, my boss was kind of cheap, so we would have never done anything like that.
That would be a little out of your budget.
Never done anything like that. But just to put everybody in reference, if you are in the Valley or you are in Edinburgh, this is now, I was 25 when I was working there. So this is 25 years ago.
Yeah.
That was there, because I'm 50 now. So
yeah.
Wow.
I was in my 40s. So there you go. There you go.
And isn't it interesting though how the universe just like brings the right people together?
You know what? To completion, Daniel, because we started something unknowingly, but we were supposed to be in one another's lives, and you know how that works. So isn't that great? I have a great story about that. I lived here in San Antonio back in 1969. My first husband was in the Army after the Vietnam War, or during the Vietnam War. And so we moved here after we were married. And we had a next door neighbor who was from California. And at the time, my husband and I were from California. And so the next door neighbor we had like a condominium duplex. He was on one side, we were on the other. And he suddenly passed away. And so it was a very unfortunate situation. And he was in military intelligence, and my husband was in a military police. Well, anyway, long time came by, and I started to travel. I started a swim school in Seal Beach, California. Well, I was teaching these 2 ladies swimming one day, and I noticed the lady's name was Akers. And so we went into the dressing room after swimming, and I said, I need to ask you, did you ever have a son, Terry Akers? And she said, oh, yes. I said, I knew Terry. She goes, you did? You go to school with him? I said, oh, no. I lived in Texas when he died. And she said, no. I said, yes. And I always wanted to tell you how sorry I was, but I didn't have your number or anything. And she said, well, my husband's still angry about it. And this had been like 12 or 13 years since then. And I said, well, I want you to know he was really a wonderful man. He really was.
Wow.
And I'm sorry for what happened. But look at here, from Texas to Seal Beach, California, and I'm teaching her how to swim. It was almost like on the other side, her son says, hey, tell my mother.
Yeah. The universe, life, God.
Well, I'm just saying, it's going to happen. Be open. And that's the key. Be open. Yeah. Don't doubt anything. There's always a message.
There's a mantra that says something like, I chase after nothing. What's meant for me will come to me. And that is so true.
Daniel, do you ever find that you're trying to do something and things aren't working out for you? Like you're shopping online, you can't find it. I find if I just walk away from it and just say, you know what, I'm not supposed to find that today. It's taken a long time to get to that because, I'm a real driver and I'm going to make it happen. Right. But I found now that if I walk away from it and come back, it's like, how'd that happen? There it is. Yeah. So that if we just are patient, and that's not always easy to do, but if you sometimes just walk away and you just walk, or you ever look for something in your cupboard and you can't find it, just walk away and come back and it's like right there. So
story of my life. Quick note on that. I was just in Phoenix shooting some videos for a conference, and I have this particular lipstick that I like because I got it years ago and it matches my lips. So when my lips are a little cracked, it just covers it up for videos, right? So we're shooting the videos. I just put some on, could not find it, could not find it. Like I was just in the bathroom. Where was it? Could not. I was finally like, fine, let's just shoot, whatever. Come home, open my suitcase, open the little zipper with my stuff. It popped out.
Here I am.
Here I am. I was like, oh, did you need me?
Right.
I took that as a sign. Yeah,
I
I took that as a sign from the universe saying, you're gorgeous. You don't need that. You're fine.
That's right. Exactly.
So, Marsha, you have a big story, so I'm not going to take any more time. Marsha Nelson, tell us how you put it together.
Well, I come from a farm in Illinois, and my dad was a coach, and my mother was a nurse, and they're hardworking people. And we moved from Illinois. From the farm, we moved to town. My dad was he became a Wilson Sporting Good salesman. So we were all into sports as kids because we had free equipment. Might open up my dad's back of his station wagon and all the toys you could ever want for Wilson Sporting Goods. And so anyway, my uncle was the director of psychology at OSU, Ohio State University. And he said, there's a new program starting in California, and it's for counselors in schools. And he said to my dad, you know, you got all the education, you'd be really good for this. So we packed up, like I tell you, in 5 minutes. We sold our house. We were in the station wagon, pulled a little trailer, off we went. 4 kids, a dog, and my parents. And we landed in San Diego. My dad went to school to become a counselor, which is an interesting story, how things happen. One of his classmates wanted to go interview for a job in West Covina, California, outside of Los Angeles. And he needed a ride. He didn't have a car. So my dad said, well, I'll drive you. So my dad drives him over and to the employment agency there. And the gal in the office said, why don't you interview for the job? And my dad said, oh, no, I just found my friend. He goes, no, go interview. So my dad goes in and he looks at the interview, the person there, and it said Wooden on it, the last name Wooden. And my dad said, are you any relation to Johnny Wooden, UCLA basketball coach? And he goes, yeah, he's my brother. So my dad and Cat Wooden, Johnny Wooden's brother, talked basketball the whole time because my dad had been a girls basketball coach in Iowa. And guess who got the job? My dad. So that's how we ended up in West Covina, California, and Covina, West Covina. And I was the first graduating class of South Hills High School. We were in the Covina Unified School District, but school was located next to the South Hills Country Club in West Covina. So that's how we ended up in California. And my dad was there as a counselor for 25 years. And I was married there the first time and then came to San Antonio, Texas, interestingly enough, was here for a few months and then went back and I finished up my education. I got a bachelor's in sociology and then I got teaching credential, elementary, and taught school for a while. But the marriage was falling apart. I didn't realize then, and people didn't talk about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but he was suffering from it greatly and got pretty physically abusive with me, and I had to get out. And so because of that, leads up to what I'm doing today. And so anyway, I, in the meantime, had started a swimming school, and it's still there today. 345 10th Street, Seal Beach, across from St. Anne's Catholic Church, next to Taco Bell, right on Pacific Coast Highway. So check it out. And it's called Swim Safe Swim School, but it used to be Seal Swim School, which I created myself.
Wow.
And yeah, so anyway, I was teaching school. I owned a swimming school. I had 2 beautiful little adopted baby boys. I was like on tilt, way too much to do. Oh, and besides that, I was the president of the Junior Women's Club in Seal Beach. And we had just lost the Seal Beach Pier in a horrible storm back in the 80s. And so the state of California said, well, we're not going to rebuild the pier. And our city said, oh, yeah, we are. And so what my part in the whole operation was, I got our club, who started with 7 members, I got our club to develop a playground for kids right at the base of the pier. And we called it the Tot Lot. And if you go there today in Seal Beach, you'll still see the beautiful playground that we created. And I managed to get 37 new members into our club. And one way we raised money is we had a men's legs contest at the pier. And we put a screen up and we showed men's legs. We had categories: the whitest legs, the hairiest legs, the most bowed legs. But, I come up with these little ideas and then it just mushrooms. So we made the money that we needed. We built the Tot Lot playground, and it gave me the opportunity to become the Woman of the Year for Orange County in 1996.
That's pretty awesome.
So
Before we continue, I want to remind everybody you're watching Putting Together Conversations. My guest today is the wonderful Ms. Marsha Nelson, and we're talking about swimming schools, travel agencies, and legs competitions. How was that a good conversation? Now, there's one thing that I'm noticing in the beginning of your story, talking about your parents, one being a coach and one being a nurse. There's a lot of discipline in those two career choices. There's a lot of, you have to pay a lot of attention. There has to be a lot of focus. That's the word I'm looking for, focus. Is that where you get your discipline and your focus?
That's my left brain. Yes. I was thinking the other day, my grandson's 9 years old. And when I was 9 years old, I had a regular babysitting job for 3 little kids when I was 9 years old. And I also had a paper route when I was 10 all over the town. And in, Illinois, it snows. I mean, it's horrible weather. And also my dad had the Little League team, and I sold the concessions. So I had the Canada Dry truck come to our house, and I was like 11 years old. So I have always had this ability to be creative. And let me just say this, Daniel, I didn't learn to read to the 3rd grade. And my 11 months to the day younger sister read every book in my room, and I couldn't read one of them. And today in school, they probably say I was handicapped in some way. But I know today, my brain functions differently. And I am very, very, very right brain and very intuitive. And I'm extremely creative, and I'm gutsy. I'm just damn gutsy. If somebody calls me to do something, let's do it. Or and I'll throw my energy in there. So the discipline comes from my parents. They were very disciplined, and they had a hard time with me because I was always thinking of other things to do, because school wasn't where I was getting all my, kudos, but outside life was really fulfilling that. So I really am. And now I have a grandson. They announced this week, he's dyslexic. And I said, you know what? So is his uncle, not the father of the child, but his uncle. I said, I was. And look at us. We've made a lot of money in our life, and we've had a lot of fun. Don't ruin his self-esteem. Don't label him. Don't let anybody label him. Because in my day, I went to a country school. There was 2 classes, first and second, in one room. Nobody labeled. I just knew it was difficult for me to learn, but I knew once I got it in there, I was good to go. And I remember the other day, my dad saying, Marsha, most kids wear out the lead in their pencil first. You run out of the eraser. And what it is when you're dyslexic, or whatever you want to call that, when you mix things up, you first, let's say the word is 81. Well, what's the last thing you remember hearing? 1, right? So you're going to write it down. So now 81, there's an 8. So I've noticed that you just flip-flop them, because the last number you heard, you're going to put it down. And that's because our minds work so quickly. So when somebody has a child with that gift, and I call it a damn gift, if you have that gift to be able to do that, it's going to help you in later life. It might be a struggle to get through school, but you'll discipline yourself, because you're going to know that eraser is a very important tool on your pencil, because you're going to have to change some answers before you end it in. So
I'm sorry.
no, I really realized that. It's a gift.
I'm noticing as you're speaking, I'm thinking to people that I know who have been given a
Diagnosis.
label. Yeah,
Diagnoses.
yeah, that you're just more creative. You just have to find ways. It's like, okay, let's not talk about this too much. Let's just do
No,
it.
don't.
People show up with instruction manuals and they're like, "Will you read this?" I'm like, "No, just tell me what I need to do." And does that make sense to you?
Exactly right. Exactly right. But you know what? I got all the way through school. I got a master's, a PhD. Obviously, my discipline paid off. But there you go. So I really love people. I love being creative. I love helping people. And when I was in the Valley, I started a retreat center, El Rocio Retreat Center, across from the Texas State Veterans Cemetery on Inspiration Road in Mission, Texas. And that was just an idea because my late husband was a doctor. He moved us to Texas. And when I went down there, I didn't know one person. I mean, I came from Lake Arrowhead and Palm Springs, California. We had a home in both places. The kids went to school up in Lake Arrowhead, and then the weekends we went to Palm Springs. We moved down there. I don't know anybody, not one person. I have never even been to that area, but you know what? My husband had a good job, and I wanted to see my husband happy because I know happy husband, happy wife. And so here we go. So that's why I started the travel agency, because I needed something to do. And because the banker across the street from your travel agency said, "Hey, put that guy out of business. Get rid of him." So anyway, that's how we got the travel agency going. And then we bought a place at the Arroyo for, the weekends to go out and fish because we had a couple of boats. And then we found this place in Mission, went to a party. Guy said, "Hey, you ought to come over and see this property I have for sale." We did. And I remember standing in the living room of that place, and I said to my husband, "Don't tell me you're going to buy that." He said, "Yeah, don't you love it?" It's like, we don't need this. But then about 5 years later, he died, and I turned it into a retreat center and a bed and breakfast. So again, my creativity, I took my lemons, I made lemonade, and we've sold that since. But what I'm saying is, whenever opportunity would come, one of the veterans I was working with, because I worked with a veterans group down there, they were just over here. They live in San Antonio now, and they were for dinner the other night. And he was telling my husband, he goes, "You taught me how to back up a truck." Because when we did the Veterans Festival at El Rocio, now let me tell you what the festival was about. We needed to raise some money to help these veterans. So my idea was, let's have a cook-off, a competition between branches of the military. So just like the men's legs contest, we did this little military, the Navy against the Army against the Marines. Well, the only branch that didn't show up was the Coast Guard. And I remember we had an old broken barbecue, and we kind of put it in the corner, and somebody just wrote across Coast Guard. And we were so fortunate because we had the radio stations promoted us. We had the radio stations provided the music. The restaurants provided all of the raw meat, and the veterans cooked it. And we had all wonderful contests. It was live streamed, really some fun times in the Valley. I really, really loved living down there.
And so I want to highlight though, because a lot of people don't realize, like, this is pre-social media.
Oh, yeah.
Like, before you could just tweet and tell everybody where you are.
Oh, yeah. This is 2002, 2003. There was a little bit of that, but it wasn't that I could get on Facebook and promote the things. You had to get on radio. You had to get in the newspaper. I spent a lot of time speaking to a lot of groups, the Rotary, the Lions, promoting this. I physically had to get out and get people, because in those days, you're right. You couldn't just push a button. You had to get your happy ass in that car and drive over there. And
it was really the art of asking and not just posting.
Isn't that interesting that you're bringing that up? Because when I was in California, my late husband, who was director of anesthesia at UCI, University of California, Irvine, you know where that is. Yeah. He was the director of the residents and interns. And I met him at a dancing class after I separated from my late husband. Interesting enough. But anyway, we did a fundraiser one time. Here's another little idea I had. We wanted to give to the orphanage. We women, we doctors' wives wanted to give clothes or coats or something. And so I remember him driving me to a store, and I went into the store and I asked if we could get a donation for, and I get back in the car and he goes, "How do you do that?" He said, "How do you go in, like, how do you have the balls to go in there and ask?" I said, "Because it's not for me. I couldn't ask for me in a heartbeat, but I'm asking for children to help children." He said, "Well, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that." And I understand a lot of people can't do that. It's a gift I have. So if God gives you the gift, use it.
Yeah, because not into asking that, but people are like, "Hey, we need somebody to present this." I'm like, "Just give me the script." "Hey, we need somebody to record some videos." I'm like, "Just point the camera out." Like, I got it. And some of my friends are like, "How do you just like on the spot come up with stuff?" I'm like, "Because it's helping somebody."
I can't do it all myself.
Yeah.
Can't do it all myself.
I've learned the art of speaking for myself, like promoting me, because you have to do it in this kind of industry. But like if somebody said, "Well, we want you to, make a quick video about Marsha," I'm like, "All right, I got this.
Let's do it. Here, where is she? Let's get her on."
Yeah, let's do that. Where do you think that sense of giving comes for you?
Sense of giving?
Yeah.
Oh, my family. My mother, a nurse, giving. I mean, they're the queens of giving. They give and they give and they give. Haven't we seen that lately with the pandemic? It's the nurses out there giving and giving and giving. And so that's how, and I remember one time my mother said to me, "Marsha, you're selfish." I really? Because I've been in every service club. I mean, when I started my high school, we were the first graduating class, and we got to form all of the clubs. And, I've just always been, and it really hurt my feelings to be called selfish. But I've learned in the work creative journal expressive arts, first we have to take care of ourselves, like in the airplane when the oxygen, and then when we are taking care of ourselves, we have lots to give to everybody else. But my mother gave until she couldn't give anymore, and she never really thought about herself. And that's the difference between me getting the tools of Dr. Lucia Capacchione and learning that I need to take care of me first, and then I have plenty to give away. And so that is how the giving all started, and it's just a natural of me. I know even in my family, when all the pandemic happened, every week I've had my family over here. They all come for dinner because that's how we get to see one another. So, it's important. Family is very important to me, and my community and my neighborhood. Jimmy, my neighbor next door said, "Hey, Marsha, they fixed the street down there. Was that you? Is that you that got?" So I guess I'm even known, even after 3 years in this neighborhood, of just Marsha will get it done.
That's pretty interesting. I can relate to that part because I love volunteering, and I've for as long as I can remember, I'm always like, as soon as I hear the word volunteer, I'm like, me.
Yeah.
They're like, "Well, we need girls." We just need girls. I'm like, "Well, if you have room for a dude, I'm just throw me in there." But just the way you said that about being selfish, I tell people, I'm like, most people think that I do things for people to make them feel good. I said, but honestly, I do it to make me feel good. It makes me feel good to volunteer, to be able to donate, to be of service. Like even if they just call me to go and do card readings at an event for donations, I'm like, I'll do it because it makes me feel good to come home and go, I did something today. Like I did something really important today. Does that make sense?
Isn't that just the best feeling in the world when you know that somebody and you got to meet somebody every time you go out you meet somebody new?
That is,
come on. I mean,
best.
Benefiting. That's what I love, and I love people, and I love their stories, and that to me, I just started a women's group with a veteran veteran women. And every Wednesday, I teach the creative journal, Expressive Arts. And what it is it's really art therapy. And I'll just show you, I'll show you my journal. All right. Here's a picture of me with some leg pain. And then here's the journaling. Okay. So we journal with both the dominant and non-dominant hand. And we also do things like collage. I have them take pictures and then I have them write about them. And they use the non-dominant hand because it taps into the right hemisphere. And let me just tell you, I love that right hemisphere because that's my home. And I'm inviting everybody in. Come on over to my right brain. So that has really been really a wonderful, wonderful gift. And when I met Dr. Capacchione, my first marriage, I said, was tumultuous. And I married another veteran. And what they both men had in common, they were both alcoholics. And I said, common denominator. I'm not a drinker. I'm attracted to something's got to change here. And so I went to some counseling up at Lake Arrowhead, and it was talk therapy. And, you know, she would always say, oh, yeah, you talk, but I would never get to the core of what was really wrong. But one day, my friend had invited us over for lunch, and the author, Dr. Lucia Capacchione, showed up at the lunch in Lake Arrowhead because she was doing a book signing. And so I talked to her after we took her out on our boat, lovely boat ride on a private lake, Lake Arrowhead in the San Bernardino Mountains. And I said, tell me about the book you wrote. Well, this is really interesting because my late husband had just left Betty Ford. And see the name down here, Charles Whitfield. Can you see that? Charles Whitfield. Can you see it? All right. Well, when he was at Betty Ford, that book was one of my late husband's reading. And so when I made the bed that morning, I looked down and there was this book called Healing the Child Within, Charles Whitfield. So I'm talking to Lucia about this book she wrote. What do I know? I don't know her, but you know, we had a nice boat ride and I had a little time to talk. Tell me about the book you've written. Oh, called Recovery of Your Inner Child. I said, is it anything like that book that Charles Whitfield wrote? The Child Healing the Child Within. She goes, Charlie? Oh, we're good friends. I go, well, what do you know about that? So anyway, I said, well, I'm in counseling right now, and I'd like to learn about what you do. Figured if it's a friend of his, you know, must be something with counseling. So she goes, yes, in Santa Monica, I'm going to do a workshop next weekend. So my sister lived in Venice. I took my kids down. My sister watched them for the afternoon. I went to the workshop. I said, I don't know if I understand everything about this, but it feels right. And I'm about intuition. So I kept going to her workshops and I kept going to counseling. I went to Santa Barbara. I went to Italy. I did all these things. And I finally went to my counselor. And I remember running up like a little 10-year-old up the stairs, throw all my art out. Here's clay. I read my journaling. Here's what, you know, it told me. I did this, I did that. And I said, now, next time we meet, we'll meet downstairs and you can buy the coffee. And I thought about, oh, who said that? And she said, oh, yes, you don't need to come here anymore. You've got it all figured out. But let me tell you what, you know, like what I've done for you in 2.5 years, $100 a week, $100 a session. And I sometimes was 3 times a week there. Let me tell you what I did for her. And I was just like, anyway, I knew in that moment, this was the answer. Doing non-dominant handwriting, scribbling, drawing, you know, this kind of thing. And then journaling with it. So anyway, I asked Lucia, after I closed the travel agency, I went on tour with her to Canada. And I said to her, oh, they're asking about a training program. Have you ever thought about a training program? She said, yes, but I have no one to help me. I said, well, what about me? She goes, yes, you'd be perfect. You know this work. So that was in 1997 in July. We came home. I went to California. We, you know, saw some friends, came back here. My late husband took me to Ireland for my birthday. October 1st, he succumbed to a heart attack in the Gatwick airport in London. So now I'm a widow. So I fly home And I've already told her we're going to do this. We're going to start a program. And so in my depths of grief, I created a program that we call Creative Expressive Arts. And we have a certification program. You can go to luciac.com, check it out. And I am the training supervisor. Lucia, of course, teaches her method. She's written 23 books. Oh my goodness, they are fabulous. The last two are fun. They're coloring books.
Oh, wow.
All right. This one is Drawing Your Stress Away. And this one is Hello, this is your body talking. And what it is you remember when coloring books became out popular about 6 years ago, and they had all these coloring books, and she read in some article about it was art therapy. She goes, that's not art therapy. You know, coloring, maybe it was relaxing, but it's not therapy. So she said she went and bought $500 worth of coloring books, and she then created left and right.
Wow.
Created. So it gives you the activity, tells you what to do, and then you do it in the book. So anyway, these are her last two. She has another one of hers is Visioning, 10 Steps to Designing the Life of Your Dreams. You know Micah. Micah's certified in this work. And this is all from Disney. She worked with Disney for 10 years, Imaginarium team, and created this. So it is amazing. And Micah Ariano, Micah on Mike, he is a fabulous, fabulous presenter and also coach of the Visioning, 10 Steps to Designing the Life of Your Dream.
Well, there he is. He's speaking about it. He came up and said, hello, Daniel and Marsha. The transformation of CJEA.
Creative Journal, Expressive Arts.
And then Visioning does work. Yes, he does. Yeah.
Hey, it's changed our lives. We're all for the better. If you can't see it, you'll never achieve it.
You know that.
If you don't have a destination, if you drive out of your driveway on a vacation and you decide driving out, oh, I'm going to go somewhere. Well, you will. But when you get home, you may have said, oh, I wish I would have looked that up. I didn't realize there was this at the Grand Canyon. You know, you put a little effort into it, but you get a vision about where you're going to go. And then all the pieces, just like Daniel, you and I just talked about, people just come, things just fit together. You know, I live a charmed life. I don't know why. I don't know why it's been so good. I've had a lot of sad stuff happen, but I'm telling you what, that is like a drop in the bucket for all the benefits, the beautiful people. We have people in our program all over the world. We're in 19 countries. We have a woman coming in from Lebanon right now. People that know this work, want to learn it, and I get to be a part of their life. I get to supervise them. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
I was visiting with a friend of mine in Phoenix while I was there, and we were talking. Interesting, you're talking about this. We were talking about my old dance teacher in junior high, and she was the school teacher. But from the moment she met me, I danced before junior high. I danced since I was a kid, so she knew that, and I started dancing. And part of our training in class, one of our practices was she would tell us, like, this is the steps. Imagine you moving. She's like, don't even bother about the steps. Just imagine you moving on the stage and getting it right. And we were, junior high kids.
Yeah.
She was like, imagine yourself moving together and showing people. And she's like, imagine your steps on the floor. Imagine the people clapping. Imagine the music. And by the time we got to learn the steps, we were already in unison. Like, it was already working. Like, how does this happen? So she was the first person that taught me how to start visioning things for you. And I'll end this part of the story this way. When I was diagnosed with AIDS in 2000 and I was labeled disabled, I believed that for 20 years. It was part of my reality that I had all these ideas and I wanted to do all these things and I wanted to create and write, but I was disabled and I couldn't do it. So I've only been technically off disability for a year and a half. October of 19 was when I went off disability. So it'll be 2 years this October. So in 2 years, I've been managing to grow my brand and my projects and people that I never thought are coming to me in this program. And so when people ask me, sometimes people ask me like, how is it that you're at here at 50 years old? I'm like, because for 20 years I wasn't allowed to grow, and not by anybody else's fault. It was my fault for believing it.
I know.
But so I'm totally in line with you, because my clients in my spiritual coaching, I'm like, let's get rid of the labels that somebody gave you.
What did I tell you? Thank God nobody labeled me, because if I'd been labeled, I would have been just like you. But no, all I knew was this was a little bit harder, just a little harder. But I could get it, I would always get, let's say I got to the 4th grade, I'd always say, oh, phew, I made it to the 4th grade. Now I might not make it to the 5th, but I'm here. So you the whole attitude of I've arrived.
Yeah. So Micah says he's grateful for your 30 years of friendship. How dare you, Micah? She just turned 29. How dare you?
Well, we met on the radio. I was promoting. Dr. Capacchione was coming down to the valley. She was going to teach out of her book, and I knew nobody knew Lucia, only me. Well, maybe somebody else, but I don't know who that other person was. And Micah, was promoting the AIDS quilt, was coming to UT Pan Am. And so I said, hey, can you help me? I said, I'm bringing this author down, and I need a crowd. I need people. And he said, sure, I can help you. And then I said, well, you can come for free if you can help me get some people. And that workshop actually changed his life. He went home, he made some hard decisions after that weekend, and he never looked back. And so I'm just saying, it's just amazing, and that you meet these people, and if you're not afraid to just reach out and say, I need help, and it's incredible. So Mike and I have been friends across the board. And now I'm fortunate enough, because I own property in Cabo San Lucas, and I'm down there every year, that we get to connect in Cabo, and then he comes up here. So yeah, we've had a great run together, right, Micah? So it is crazy wonderful about how people can come together, and with openness and with lack of prejudice, prejudging anybody, anything, just diving in, giving it your best. And here you go, Project Insight practitioners. There you go. And 9/11. Well, the bridge. Did you know that 2 days ago, remember the bridge that goes to South Padre Island?
Yes.
Well, there was a barge that hit the bridge 3 days after 9/11. And so I got a phone call from the local museum in McAllen, and they said, well, we need some counselors to come in here. We were going to do what we call collage, which is our fundraiser, but it doesn't seem appropriate. Too much is going on. So what happened was I called up Micah and a few other of my people in Creative Journal, Expressive Arts, and said, come over here. We're going to put together something. And, it was all of us that just in the moment's notice, we had one room of movement, just movement, people moving, because, those emotions get stuck in your body and you've got to move them out. You know that, you're a dancer. You heal through movement. We had another one doing collage. People, just taking magazines and pictures about how they felt about what had just happened. Not only 9/11, but also the bridge going down. It was the most incredible weekend, 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, that people gathered at the museum to do some emotional healing. And I thank Micah from the bottom of my heart, because when I called my team together, they were there. And they jumped in and they worked the whole weekend, volunteered, helping people to grieve, and scared, and all of this. Families came in. So there are so many opportunities that come for all of us, and you just have to get out of your own way. Get out of your own damn way. You are your worst enemy. What will happen if I do it? Well, you know what? Something really wonderful. And if you don't do it, you're missing out. So just go. Show up. Yeah. Show up.
Fear is such
You know what it is? Fear. F-E-A-R.
Yeah,
false evidence appearing real.
Yeah. Fear can stop you from connecting to people. What we talked about in the beginning, people, places, and things. Fear will stop you from connecting to the right people, places, and things. And I learned that, like, again, like I was on, I mean, I'm not ashamed of it anymore, but coming out of disability, there was that one, and I'll be honest with you folks, there was like a 2 hour gap where I sat down and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to, and then I said, hey, I need a job.
Right. Right.
I just lost my disability. I need a job. Hey, remember you used to offer me work? I need it now.
No, I
Hey,
need.
remember you offered to
You
help
weren't
me
kidding,
find
were you? You were not kidding me.
Yeah, remember you said if I ever needed it, you could lend me. I need it now. Like I need to invest in these things. And I did. I invested in acting. I invested in some other stuff. I'm like, if I'm gonna move forward, I got it like
And think of it, you were an incubator for 20 years.
20
20
years.
years you were an incubator. And when you came out, it was like, watch out, world.
Yeah.
And I find that with my vets. I worked with vets for years and years. And I told you about the story we did, the barbecue and everything. Well, what I found about vets on disability, when I would say to them, we can get healthy here. The first thing they say to me, oh, but I'll lose my disability. And it's like we are hammering our foot to the floor and not moving forward because we're so afraid we're going to lose that little bit of money. Think of the amazing amount of money you could make. And I was on the committee of the McAllen Vet Center. We did arts festival because every time I worked at the vets, I volunteered my time. I went in with the veterans and they all talked about they want to go fishing. They all talked about, I said, when was the last time you went fishing? Oh, it's been years. I go, well, you have Padre Island right down the road. You got the Rio Grande River. What's the problem here? They keep it in their head. You got to move. You got to put action in your words. So anyway, I really found that the word disability is like what we just talked about. Labels, they are the biggest crippler in our society. Biggest crippler.
I tell my clients, I can't guarantee you what you can become, but I promise you that you are so much more than what you believe you are right now.
Hey, at third grade and I couldn't read, well, I figured it out. And you know what? I was really good because when you're in the circle and the other kids see Dick run. Well, I'd goof up a little bit because I'd listen and I'd learn what page and what, and she'd say, no, the word, oh, okay. And I'd fix the word. I didn't know what it was. But you know what? You fake it till you make it.
Yeah. And one thing that I've learned before moving on to the next segment, one thing that I've learned is people will respect you because of the effort you put into it. And people will come to you and they say, hey, I see you have 3 tires, you need 4. I have the 4th. I'll give you my tire and you give me a ride. And then before you know it, you're both on the track, if that makes sense. So we come to 45 minutes. For everybody watching, the great Miss Marsha Nelson is our guest today. And we're talking about putting your best effort, becoming more than you can, and left and right brains, use them both. So this is the part of the conversation where I ask my guests to share some words of wisdom with my guests. And you've shared a lot, but what special words of wisdom do you have to share?
What I like to use in my workshops, and I do workshops weekly. I really like the phrase Eleanor Roosevelt, no one can do to me what I'm not already doing to myself. And what that means is when we put ourselves down and we belittle ourselves and we minimize ourselves, you can't blame other people for doing that. You did it to yourself first. You accept what they say because you've already set the pattern. And now when they say, oh, I don't know that you're going to graduate from college, you've already thought that. So now you're going to buy into their package. So no one can do to me. So when you get those thoughts and the inner critic, in our work, we talk about that. Or as Micah would say, the monkey noise, the monkey chatter. You start buying into all that negativity, it will disable you. Just like you said, 20 years kept you disabled for 20 years. And when you took the nail out of your foot and you started dancing again in a figurative fashion, that's when life began. And would you turn around what you have today back to that life? Not in your life. Never, never, never. I knew when I moved into this house here in San Antonio, I just said, God, I know you have something for me here in San Antonio, because I was very active in the valley. But I left the valley. Nobody knew me up here. But you know what? They know me now, and I'm very active here. And I've been here 3 years. So when you set the intention, you set the vision. I said, God, I don't know what you have in store for me, but I'm here. And boy, they started calling. And here comes, I work with an agency out in California, Redwood City, Kensington Place. Beautiful. I do workshops. Anybody can get a hold of me, give me your email, and I'll put you on the list. Free workshops I teach on Monday nights. But the thing is, I used to go out there always, but couldn't. They closed it down. Nobody can go in. And these poor people, the staff was just besides themselves. And so I started teaching on Zoom and doing private clients. And now one thing led to another, and it's amazing. And so I have people, it's cute, 2 little gals come from Malaysia every morning, and it's their morning. It's our Monday night. They go, good morning, good morning. So I know that wherever you are, if you just begin to believe in yourself, stop thinking, oh, I came from a horrible childhood. Stop it. We all had stuff. All right? We all had it.
That's one of my favorite. Yeah, we all have stuff.
Yeah.
It's how you use that stuff.
Exactly. Turn shit into gold. All right? There you go. And
well said, like Micah said a minute ago. Well said. Yeah, I mean, it's and that was the thing, that it's the label was a lamp. It depends what light you look at it in. When I had that disabled lamp over me, everything that happened in my life seemed tragic. It was like, how could I write a book? Who am I to write a book?
Right.
How am I to start a program? Me create my own intuitive deck? How is that even possible? That's not for me. But the moment that lamp was removed and I was able to see myself in my own light, that's when the differences and the changes came. And then
think how many people, I used to say that when I did workshops at El Rocio. I said, across the street's the Veteran Cemetery. Think of how many of those souls over there never knew why they came on this earth, because we all came for a reason, a season, a purpose. We all came for a purpose. And our purpose living is to find out what that is. And the sooner you find it out, the better your life's going to be, you know. And it wasn't, for me, it wasn't teaching in grade schools. I was doing that. And I felt like I had a classroom of 30 little birds with their little mouths open. I could never get to all of them. I wasn't, and I didn't have a good experience in school. I told you that. 3rd grade, I didn't read. So, you know, school wasn't pleasant for me. So you know how I got out of it? I had a stroke. And the stroke got me out of it. And so then I didn't have to teach anymore, because the state of California said, oh no, if you come back and have another stroke, you know, that's serious.
Right.
So our bodies will tell us. Our bodies will tell us. Yeah. So I was the same as you, but I didn't let that disability hold me back. And I couldn't be happier with my life today. And I don't know what's in store for me. I mean, there's so many gifts out there. I'm just waiting for them to come. I bring them on.
Yeah, there's for everybody watching, like, I think if this episode doesn't, let me rephrase that. We work really hard at Lilmesican Productions Inc. to bring you shows that motivate and inspire you to go after your own dreams and goals. And if this episode is not motivating you and inspiring you, if you're sitting there, mom, with your kids, and you're like, I've always wanted to write a book, but what can I write about? Your life. If you have an idea, an invention, how many of you have thought of something and then you see it on TV and you're like, that was my idea? Well, do it. And you know, for every good idea that has worked its way up, I have like 100 that never grew. It's like little seeds.
You say it's on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I planted 100 seeds in one plant. I celebrate the one plant. Like, you got to do it. And I think that's, before we move on, like, I think that's one of the hard things for people is sometimes we're so afraid of failing and being mocked or ridiculed.
What is really failing? What is failing? It's just giving you another opportunity to try a little different way. Just look at it as, well, I wasn't supposed to go that direction. You know, whenever I get on the wrong road, I just say to myself, wow, I get to find a new neighborhood. And let me tell you, I live in San Antonio now, a big city, and I've learned a lot of new neighborhoods because I've gotten a little turned around. But guess what? Every time I go on those little detours, I'll see something, and then pretty soon I'll see it on the news. I go, oh, I know where that is. So it's so beneficial to never give up. Just keep so you're on an adventure. So you're late but you're safe and you made it. Come on.
Few people know that what this is now, Putting Together Conversations, started out in 2008 with a series that I had called 1 Minute with Daniel. And I would just get on YouTube and do 1 minute ramble about something that I had on my mind. And then I was like, okay, Garza, 1 minute is not enough.
Right.
Then it went to 2, then it went to 5, 15, 30, and then my podcast. And now here we are, 13 years later. So
isn't that great? You just have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you're a knitter, you got to just buy the ball of yarn. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you, as life goes, I talk about life is like a roll of toilet paper. When you put that roll on, it's like, oh, we got it forever. Well, let me tell you, it gets real thin down there, and it's like, whip, real fast.
Yeah.
So if you don't get started at doing something, just something, because you know what? Even that doesn't have to be your life path, but you're on the journey, and it may branch off somewhere else. Somebody else will get you involved in something, but just get out there. Get out there.
Before we forget, let me put the website, folks. Go check it out, projectinsight.net. Remember, .net. So go check it out. Our guest today was the wonderful Miss Marsha Nelson. If you missed part of the show, go rewind, go play it again, because I hope you get motivated. Any last words before we go, Marsha?
Well, I just want to thank you for what you're doing, helping people, because at this time in our lives, it's never been more turmoil, more dissent, more division, and we need to bring people together. And anybody that has any opportunity to bring people together, just a smile, just noticing people is so, so important. And, you know, it's funny on a plane, because I travel a lot, used to travel a lot, you know, all over the world teaching. And people would say, you know, I never, ever talked to the person next to me. I can't believe we've had this conversation for 4 hours. And I'll just ask, where are you going? Or, you know, and the other day I got on from just 2 weeks ago or so, I was in New Jersey, got on the plane. And I said, you going home or are you going to work or something like that? And the guy goes, oh, no, I was visiting New Jersey. I'm going to South Texas. I go, well, where? He said, I'm going to McAllen. I go, well, here's the deal. I told him, when he told me his name, I said, I know the name. Well, they have a program on TV, and it's for high school kids, and they have, you know, like a game competition. And when he told me his name, he said, how would you know my name? I said, I know it. And then later he says, well, you know, I worked with Tim Smith on this program. And I said, that's how I know, because I remember there were 2 Tims. I go, well, that's a coincidence, 2 Tims. Where do I meet him? On a plane coming from New Jersey. So, you know, just be aware. Let your right brain pick up all these signals. Just let them pick it up. Yeah. Don't judge it. Just say, put it away in your little chest. Put it away, because something's going to happen. That's and those are the signs.
Yeah, you just never know. So, folks, open up, especially now that we're all emerging out of our little lockdown cocoon. You never know who's sitting in the seat next to you on the plane, who's waiting in line behind you at the bank. You just never know. Unless the person in the back is wearing a mask and a gun, then don't talk to them.
We're all wearing masks, okay? We're all wearing masks. So. Just a gun in their pocket, right?
Yeah. Is there a gun in your pocket or a roll of quarters? Or are you just happy to see me? Marsha, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It was so fun.
For everybody watching, again, make sure you go check out the website, projectinsight.net. Look them up, see what they've got going on. Check in with her and let her know that you saw her here on Put Together Conversations. Marsha, don't go anywhere. I'm going to put you in the green room for a second and do my final announcements. I'll be back in just a second. For everybody watching, this has been Put Together Conversations. Thank you. Let me remind you, on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Times, this is the Christian and Daniel Show. On Fridays, it's the Cardivo. We'll be back next week with that show. And Put Together Conversations on Saturdays with 2 shows at noon and 5, and that will be back next week. Why? Because tomorrow, September 18th, is the Orange County AIDS Walk here in Southern California. So I will be there from 9 to 1. So if you're watching this on September 17th, September 18th, we will be at the Bill Barber Memorial Park in Irvine, California. September 18th, join us for AIDS Walk Orange County. If you haven't heard about my book, because I talk about it all the time, this is From Bunny in the Colors Game. It's written by me, illustrated by Jennifer and Vivian Gatch, mother and daughter. You can find it in any of these book outlets. Grumpy Bunny in the Colors Game is a book about a bunny that wakes up grumpy, and his mom is going to help him to ungrump his grumpy by showing him a guided meditation game. So make sure you get it if you're a kid or an adult. This can work for you too. And finally, I will be at the Cool Beans Comedy at the Pico on 10580 West Pico Boulevard this Saturday 18th. Yeah, so I'll be at 2 places this Saturday. So you can catch me there at 8 p.m. Tickets are available at coolbeanscomedy.com/tickets. It's me and 5 other comics celebrating National Latinx Heritage Month. So just in case you didn't know, I'm Latino, so you can find me there telling some jokes. So if you're into comedy and you're in the Southern California area, remember, we'll be there at Los Picos, at the Pico in LA. So check us out. For now, I want to thank you all for joining us. Remember, this is I lost track of where I was going. This is Putting Together Conversations. I'm your host, Daniel G. Garza. The show is about you, folks, where you come from, where you are now, and what the journey is like. And we hope that today's conversation has motivated you and inspired you to go after your own dreams and goals. Remember to watch us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, do me a favor, scroll down, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. It will tell you next time there's a show on the channel. For now, I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you, Marsha, for being on the show. And hey, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.